I still remember the first time I met him. Daniel. His smile was soft, inviting. The kind of smile that makes you believe the world isn't so cruel after all. I was lonely, searching for someone to hold on to. And Daniel, he became my anchor. Every word he spoke felt like a promise, a shelter where I could finally breathe. I gave him pieces of myself I had never shared before. My fears, my dreams, my little hopes. And for a while, it felt perfect. Late night walks, coffee at sunrise, whispers of forever. I trusted him completely. But trust is fragile. And betrayal often wears a friendly face. The signs were small at first. A message on his phone, quickly hidden. Eyes that refused to meet mine. Excuses, empty. I told myself, maybe I'm overthinking. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. And then, it happened. One evening, I saw him. Not with me, with her. Laughing, holding her hand, the way he once held mine. Every smile, every touch. A knife twisting in my chest. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just watched, in silence. And in that silence, something inside me broke. That night, I cried. Not just for him, but for the foolish girl who trusted too easily. And then, the tears stopped. The pain hardened into something else. I made a promise. He will regret underestimating me. From the ashes of my broken heart, I will rise. And this is where my story begins. The days after seeing him, with her, were unbearable. I forced myself to act normal, to smile, to laugh. But every word he spoke, every touch he offered, felt poisoned. Now, I noticed everything. The messages he deleted. The way he avoided my questions. The lingering scent, that wasn't mine. One night, while he slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, replaying every memory, every promise, every whispered forever, every kiss, all of it, tainted. Because now I knew, he had been living a lie. The man I loved was gone, replaced by a stranger who thrived on deception. I wanted proof. I needed it. So I started documenting, memorizing details, writing down times, dates, conversations. Each lie became a stone I would later use to build my plan. And then, I confronted him. He didn't deny it. He didn't even flinch. Instead, he smirked. He laughed. "You're dramatic," he said. "You overthink too much." That laugh was a dagger, twisting in my chest. But something changed in me, that night. The naivety, the softness, it died. A darker part of me awoke. A part that would no longer cry, but act. A part that would make him pay. I realized, revenge could not be impulsive. It had to be precise. Slow. Intentional. Every step he had taken to break me would now become the fuel for my revenge. The pain of betrayal had become my power. And for the first time, I felt alive, with a dangerous purpose. I began to follow him, without his knowing. Not like a criminal, but like a shadow. Silent. Observing. Learning. Every routine he had. Every habit. Every lie. Carefully noted. I had to know him completely, before making my move. He thought I was weak. Soft. Still the trusting girl. I smiled at him, when he came home late. Kissed him, when he begged for closeness. Nodded, when he spoke of our future. My mask was perfect. But inside, a storm brewed. Every time he thought he had control, I collected more pieces, for my plan. Even his friends began to notice. Small hints. Subtle truths. I let slip. Barely noticeable. Yet enough, to seed doubt. Slowly, he began to feel it. The weight of eyes on him. The pressure of suspicion. But he didn't suspect me. I was invisible. And yet, everywhere. By now, I had accepted a hard truth. Love had betrayed me. Trust had failed me, and the world had shown me its cruelty. But in that pain, I discovered clarity. My revenge would not be blind. It would be methodical, calculated, perfect. Every lie he had told, every promise he had broken, would come back to him. And I would watch, patient, silent, knowing the day of reckoning was approaching. Revenge is not loud. It whispers. It does not destroy immediately. It builds silently, like a shadow waiting to strike. I planted the seeds carefully, subtly, making sure that every lie he had ever told would be uncovered in time. Friends began questioning him. Colleagues doubted his words. His own world slowly turning against him. And he didn't even notice. I watched him with a careful smile, pretending to forgive, pretending to still love him. Every touch I gave, every word I whispered, was another thread in the web I had spun. The man who had broken me thought he was in control, but I had learned him. His routines, his weaknesses, his secrets. Each day, I sharpened my patience. Every betrayal he had committed became fuel for my plan. I wrote down everything, memorized it, calculated every possible reaction. The downfall had to be perfect. Not a scream, not a fight, but a quiet collapse. Undeniable, irreversible. I began sharing subtle hints, planting doubts in the minds of those around him. Slowly, cracks appeared. He laughed at small jokes I told, oblivious to the way I was orchestrating everything. He thought I was broken, still the girl who trusted him. But that girl was gone, replaced by someone stronger, colder, relentless. By the end of each day, I felt a strange satisfaction. This wasn't cruelty. This was justice. Every time I saw him falter, even slightly, I smiled behind my mask. He had created the monster he never thought existed. And now, he would witness it firsthand. I began isolating him from everyone he cared about. Friends noticed the inconsistencies in his stories. Colleagues began doubting his decisions. Slowly, the world he thought he controlled started questioning him. Even his mistress began to see the cracks. I didn't confront her. I didn't have to. I only whispered small truths, enough to make her doubt his loyalty. He believed he was untouchable, that no one would notice his lies. But I made sure they did. Every conversation, every interaction, calculated, planned. I smiled when he looked at me with longing. I nodded when he tried to reassure me. Every gesture was part of the trap, and I documented it all. Every reaction, every lie, every slip. The more he tried to maintain his facade, the faster it crumbled. I was the silent shadow, controlling the chaos around him. He couldn't see me. He couldn't guess what was coming. I took pleasure in the small victories. The doubt in his friends' eyes, the hesitation of his colleagues, the growing unease in his mistress. I didn't rush. I let the tension build. His world was falling apart, and I was the unseen hand guiding the collapse. Every night, I rehearsed it. The final confrontation, imagining his face, when everything would be revealed. I felt no regret, only clarity. The pain he caused me had become my power, my guide, my fuel. And by the time he realized he was losing control, it would already be too late. She thought she was safe. The girl he loved in secret, the one he believed I would never find out about. But I didn't confront her. I didn't have to. I let the truth seep in, like poison. Small hints, quiet observations, whispers disguised as accidents. Slowly, she began to question him, noticing the lies she had overlooked. And I watched, silently, as her trust began to crumble. I never wanted her pain. only justice. By the time she left him, the mistress finally understood. The man she adored was nothing but a liar. The same man who had destroyed my heart. Every action he took to hide his betrayal, I had noted. Every mistake, recorded. I had become the quiet observer. The shadow who knew everything. Every word he whispered. Every promise he broke. I felt no malice toward her. Only satisfaction. Justice was taking its course. The man who once thought he controlled everyone's perception was now exposed. His lies, unraveling. And I was the one who had guided the truth to the surface. By the end of the day, he was left with nothing. Nothing but the consequences of his own actions. The pieces of his life were breaking apart. And the girl he had betrayed was the one orchestrating it all. I smiled, quietly, knowing my revenge was no longer a plan. It was reality. Finally, the night of reckoning came. I invited him to my apartment, dinner prepared, lights dimmed, the mask of the girl he knew firmly in place. He believed everything was forgiven. He believed I still loved him. I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. Videos, messages, pictures, all the betrayals he had hidden from me were now visible. His face went pale as he watched himself exposed, arrogance dissolving into shock. "You thought I was weak," I whispered. "You thought I'd forgive. But I am stronger than you ever imagined." He tried to speak, to explain, to manipulate, but every word was swallowed by the weight of his lies. I had rehearsed this moment for months. Every reaction he had, every attempt to justify himself, was anticipated. The air in the room felt heavy, every second stretching longer than the last. He realized then that the girl he had broken was gone, replaced by someone unyielding, patient, and relentless. I let him stare in silence, letting the truth sink in fully. The man who had hurt me was now powerless, stripped of control, and completely exposed. He begged, cried, tried to explain, tried to manipulate, tried to reclaim me. But his words fell flat. Empty echoes, in a room filled with my fury. I watched him squirm, realizing all control had shifted. The man who had shattered my heart was now powerless, stripped of the lies that once made him feel untouchable. I didn't just want regret. I wanted him to feel the weight of betrayal. Calmly, I recounted every secret he had hidden, every betrayal he had committed. I told him how I had watched him, learned him, documented every single lie. His eyes widened with panic. But I remained calm. The storm within me, finally unleashed. 4 months. I had planned, observed, prepared. Every touch, every smile, every whispered word I gave him, while pretending to forgive, was a step in the trap. And now, the trap was complete. He realized he had underestimated me, that the naive girl he had deceived no longer existed. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. I savored it. There was no malice in my voice, only truth. He had caused his own destruction. And soon, every friend, every colleague, every person he trusted, would see him for what he really was. I smiled. For the first time in months, without a mask. The power of revenge had transformed me. The girl who had once cried silently, who had endured his betrayal, she was gone. And in her place stood someone unbreakable, unrelenting, free. This was justice. Not a crime, not violence, but a reckoning. Precise, measured, inevitable. I made sure everyone he cared about saw the truth. Friends, family, colleagues, no one was spared. His mask was torn apart, piece by piece. Every lie, every betrayal, every hidden act of cruelty, all of it came to light. They looked at him with disgust. The man they once trusted, the man they once admired, was gone. What remained was nothing but a hollow shell, a coward who thrived on deceit. His reputation shattered. His influence crumbled. The empire he built on manipulation collapsed in front of his very eyes. And for the first time, he couldn't control the narrative. He couldn't twist the truth. I stood there silently. I didn't laugh. I didn't celebrate. I simply watched him drown in the weight of his own sins. He begged. He pleaded. He swore he could change. But his words had no power anymore. They were empty, just like him. Every apology fell flat. Every excuse was ignored. He was stripped of everything: respect, power, dignity. And all he had left was silence. For years, he had chained me with fear. But now, those chains were broken. The girl he thought he could break had risen stronger than ever. I turned my pain into strength. My scars became my armor. And in that moment, I realized his downfall wasn't just justice. It was freedom. He had nothing left. And me. I finally had everything I needed: peace. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge is watching the enemy destroy himself. Now, I tell you this. This is my confession, my story, and my warning. Love can betray, trust can fail, and pain can destroy. But revenge can set you free. I am no longer the girl he thought he could hurt. I am the storm, the shadow, the inevitable consequence of betrayal. Every lie, every broken promise, every scar he carved into me became my fuel. My power. My liberation. I embraced the darkness betrayal forced upon me and reshaped it into clarity and control. If you ever meet someone like him, remember this: we do not forgive. We do not forget. We rise. Not blindly, not recklessly, but patiently, methodically, and without mercy. Justice is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it lingers in silence, creeping, waiting until the moment is perfect. I do not speak for pity. I do not seek sympathy. I speak to declare the truth. Monsters are not born, they are created. And I was created. Every wound forged me. Every tear sharpened me. Every betrayal became the steel in my soul. Now, I am whole. I am free. I am the reckoning that comes for those who dare underestimate the strength of a betrayed heart. The girl who once loved blindly is gone forever. In her place stands someone unbreakable, relentless, eternal. This is not just my story, it is a warning carved into memory, etched into silence, burned into the night. This is my confession. This is my truth. And this is my vengeance.